discovered the burglars while his partners were searching in another part of the Democratic National Committee.
We're standing in Lawrence O'Brien's office right now, who at the time was the chairman of the Democratic National Committee back in '72. Many people believe this to be the original target of the break-in, this office here. However, no burglars were found in here, no listening devices, nothing. This room was clean.
Directly across the street from the Watergate complex is the Howard Johnson's Hotel. From room 723 of the hotel, Alfred Baldwin monitored the phone conversations from the bugged phone. Today, the three Watergate cops can stand on the balcony and look across the street at the target of both burglaries. Room 723 looks directly into the suite of offices where the phone was bugged and where the desk matched Martinez's key. The phone bug needed a line-of-sight recorder. It could transmit through the window glass of the bugged offices, but not through the walls. At the far end of the Watergate building, and in no way visible from the lookout, is the supposed target, Larry O'Brien's office. All this came as a shock to Gordon Liddy, the chief of the Watergate burglars. He went to jail believing his team had bugged O'Brien's office for political information. He now thinks he was duped.
The orders I received were to break into the office of Larry O'Brien, who was then the chairman of the Democratic National Committee, and to put in two bugs, one on his telephone to monitor those conversations, and the other a room bug to monitor any conversations in the room, and to photograph anything that was lying about. Those are the instructions that I gave to Mr. Hunt. Those instructions were not carried out. Someone had countermanded them. They didn't go anywhere near Mr. O'Brien's office. In fact, they went to the 4-button telephone that was in the office of Ida Maxine Wells.
We could only speculate as to what was in the drawer of Ida Maxine Wells' desk that was so important that another burglary may have been set up to get it.
Without placing any fault in terms of the FBI's investigation, I clearly now believe that had the key been taken to the desk and the contents of that desk viewed, a lot of our mysteries and questions about Watergate, in particular burglary motive, might have been answered.
Nobody can prove what was in the desk that night because the desk never got opened. And until the desk is opened by somebody that night, it would have had to have been within minutes to know for sure, because it leaves the whole problem of time frames. People could have gotten in and removed what was in the desk. What we know is the desk was the target.
But who was behind the break-in? Who wanted the information, whatever it was, that was in the desk? Again, we can only speculate, but Gordon Liddy is certain he was set up to get it by John Dean.
It was clear that I served as what we say in the intelligence services as a cutout.
Cutout being?
A circuit breaker between John Dean and John Dean's baby, which was Watergate.
And who was the true leader of the Watergate break-in?
Well, John Dean was the true leader.
Why would John Dean have been involved? Author Len Kolodny has developed his own theory.
John Dean ran the entire operation. He ran the first operation. Remember, he's the guy who hired G. Gordon Liddy. So he ran both. First to get sexual dirt for himself, and then to protect himself. That's what happened. First break-in to get sexual dirt, second break-in to find out whether he had a problem or not.
John and Mo Dean now live quietly in California. They were offered the opportunity to discuss the issues raised in this program, but they refused. We do know that they flatly reject the version of events which Gordon Liddy and others have provided. The Deans have sued Liddy, author Kolodny, and others in a $50 million libel suit, but not before Liddy had taunted the Deans on his Washington radio program.
And it is WJFK, and I'm G. Gordon Liddy. We are starting the program, and we have a bulletin. Those of you who are loyal listeners will remember that I have been broadcasting the address of this station, where I can be found by any process server that has been retained by John Dean.
Ironically, the libel suit may serve to reopen the investigation.
Actually, the lawsuit is one of the more fortunate circumstances in American history from my point of view. Because, you see, the statute of limitations on Mr. Dean's massive and serial perjury back in the 70s had long since run. There was nothing that could be done to rectify that. By bringing this lawsuit, he now puts himself in the position of allowing us to put him back under oath.
This is Gordon Liddy's own personal belief, but the battlefield will be the courtroom.
I made my mistakes, but in all of my years of public life, I have never profited from public service. I've earned every cent. And in all of my years of public life, I have never obstructed justice. And I think, too, that I can say that in my years of public life, that I welcome this kind of examination, because people have got to know whether or not their president's a crook. Well, I'm not a crook.
If not a crook, an active co-conspirator who paid the price for a massive misuse of power. Nixon's paranoia elevated what started as a third-rate burglary about which he knew nothing into a political time bomb which blew his presidency apart.
I don't believe that he did know about it when it occurred, but you see, the problem with the cover-up is this: people cover up things for other reasons. In this case, it would be political reasons, and they get caught up and drawn into a criminal obstruction of justice.
Well, you had this paranoid Richard Nixon, this introvert who had stored up all these grudges, who could never get them out of his craw. So, obviously, we want to check everything out with him. So
Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist Jack Anderson was, along with the Washington Post, hot on the Watergate trail.
And he was surrounded by young men who had no experience, who knew only that he was President of the United States, and who, in the manner of young men,